Tonight's guest has been billed as the first true supermodel, but her ambitions spread far beyond the runway. After rejections from a string of modelling agencies for looking too ethnic, Janice Dickinson rose to become one of the most in-demand faces of the 80s, gracing the cover of Vogue 37 times. Unbelievable that. She also picked up for prestigious titles including Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, Harper's Bazaar and even Playboy, and worked with some of the biggest names in fashion including Versace, Oscar de la Renta and Calvin Klein. While some models are content to let their looks do the talking, Janice gained a new set of fans in the 2000s and the noughties thanks to outspoken and fiery appearances on America's Next Top Model, Celebrity Big Brother and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where she endured crustaceans crawling where they shouldn't to finish runner-up in 2007. With Janice, nothing is off limits. She's spoken frankly and bravely about the traumatic and turbulent times in her life, including her 2016 breast cancer diagnosis, her battle with alcohol and drug dependencies, and suffering physical, emotional and sexual abuse from her father. And in 2014, Janice went on TV to publicly accuse Bill Cosby, still regarded as, at the time, as one of the best-loved entertainers in the US, of drugging and raping her in 1982. By the time the comedian was sent down 4 years later for drugging and sexually assaulting basketball star Andrea Constand, 60 women had come forward. However, he was last month released 2 years into a 3 to 10 year sentence over a legal technicality. And Janice, it is so good to have you here tonight, and I know we're going to talk all about your brilliant career. But can I just start by getting you to react, Janice, to this very disturbing news that Bill Cosby has been freed, and he's been freed not because he's not guilty, Janice, it's on some sort of legal technicality.
Well, it's an injustice, Dan, to me and all the other women that have been included in this lineup of rape, you know, abusive rape. And it's completely unfair that a jury found him guilty, but, you know, this technicality that they speak of is just legalese to me. I mean, when I first heard about him getting out of jail, I felt that I'd been kicked in my solar plexus, I was bent over and doubled over in shock. And it took me back to 1982, in fact, and I sort of relived the moment, and I relived many of the instances hereafter. You know, rape, the first thing I should have done was report it to an authority, but I didn't have any education on reporting it to the authorities back in those days. So I didn't, and I stuffed it, and I stuffed it into my psyche for years. And when the women did come out, the Andrea Constand, back in 2017, I had to stand up for her because this is something that had exactly the same thing that happened to me. And I hear other women speak of the same thing happening to them as well, that they were given a pill by Mr. Cosby. I shouldn't even call him Mr. Cosby. That guy, Bill, and he gave us a pill, and then he had his way with us. He had his way with me. And
I mean, Janice, obviously things were so different in 1982, and this was a man who was revered in the US. So I imagine that you just felt like even if you had reported him, you wouldn't necessarily receive justice. But you did later, actually, before these allegations became public, I believe you did try and expose him in your autobiography, but you were met with very serious legal threats.
Well, this is the second time. The first time was I was ashamed, and I didn't know who to tell because I was modeling at the top of my game back then. I had every designer, every photographer, every campaign that I was working on in back of me, and I felt too ashamed to have this news come out. I shouldn't let this assault define me the way it did back then. Now I don't let this. Now I don't have this bad taste in my mouth defining who I was and who I am now. I tried to write about it in the book, but Judith Regan, my publisher, said this will never get by Bill Cosby's legal team.
Indeed, indeed. And Janice, when you look back at some of the problems that you then had in terms of the drug addiction and the alcohol addiction, do you think it was because you were a victim of Cosby and you were holding all of that inside?
Well, after years of therapy, this is what they tell me. That I can tell you from being firsthand in having gone to work high and, having existed throughout the 80s and the 90s, 70s and the 80s and the 90s, to be honest, in a fast lifestyle and pace, it did get to me, drugs and alcohol. So I had to seek relief in a rehabilitation center. And I fought it, and I am today sober through the grace of God.
Congratulations. Congratulations. And do you feel free, Janice, now? Do you feel free because you have been able to tell your story and people understand now what you were going through?
Absolutely. I have a sense of freedom and confidence that I never had before. When this Andrea Constant opened the pages of sticky flypaper inside my psyche, that I would have all this for years, I was like a big exhaust, and I was able to walk around crying a lot, but trying to get back to good old Janice, who's lively and up. We all know me as to being, tell it like it is in your face. Well, I'm back there. I'm strong and confident as ever, and I'm concentrating on my acting and my fashion styles. Getting back to runway shows, and I think it's all slowly happening since the pandemic.
Well, look, I think you're absolutely incredible. Do you know, Janice, when I started the show, I said I have to get Janice Dickinson on because you were the first ever celebrity I interviewed, believe it or not, in the UK. And, oh, look, there we are on the pool table. Janice, you've got your leg up. And I just, the moment I met you, I just thought you were one of the most charismatic, outrageous, but actually most caring people in the industry. And I sometimes think that's something that people miss about you, Janice, until they've met you, because you come across sometimes on the reality shows as being quite a hard ass, but actually you're a big softie, aren't you?
Well, I won't be throwing my leg around your mate anymore. I'm happily married, and I don't think my husband would take to it kindly. But back in the day, I had great gams, so I might as well show them off to you and the world.
Well, I loved it. I loved it. But you know, but do you think sometimes, Janice, people have the wrong impression of you, is what I'm getting at? Because I was a little bit nervous about meeting you because I loved you on the TV shows, when you gave your forthright opinion. But actually, I think you've got a very different side to you behind the scenes.
Well, thank you. My husband knows that. And my children, I'm a mom, first off. And that's the proudest thing I've ever done, despite all the covers and working with the greatest designers in the world. I'm a mom, and now I'm a grandmom too, to my husband's grandson, little Fritz and Abe and Jakey. And there is my soft side coming out. Like 2 nights ago, I had to spend the night with my grandson in bed because he didn't want to be alone with the lights turned on. He's only 4, you see. So it was, it took me back to when I didn't sleep, being a mom. And moms, you know what I'm talking about. You just don't sleep, period, for decades to make sure your children are healthy. Well, thanks for noticing that soft side of me. It's always been there, but the hard ass for television also exists because I do have an outer shell that is, don't mess with me, mate. Otherwise, you're going to be thrown under the bus first.
You tell it as it is, and we need that. Janice, how is your health? Because, of course, you were diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016. Are you cancer-free now?
I'm cancer-free. The slate has been knocked clean. I went through courses of radiation. It messed with my skin later on. It got all flabby, but that's okay. I'll take the flab and life rather than being 6 feet under and and tight.
Well, I'm so happy.
I exercise daily. I go to the gym. I have a trainer. She kicks my arse, and I like it.
Well, look, you were the first supermodel, Janice. You were the original. And I just wonder what you make of the supermodels or so-called supermodels these days, because you have the Hadid sisters, Gigi and Bella. You've got all these Kardashians, too. I don't know what you make of them, Janice. You know, what are their names? Kendall Jenner. She's one of them.
She's a model.
And are they supermodels? Are they supermodels? Kylie, that's the other one.
Kylie and Chloe and Kim, they're all big reality stars, having made it from porn tapes. You know, I didn't make it from a porn tape. I never had sex with a photographer, period. That's not how you get ahead in life. Well, maybe I'm the dumb one. They're the rich ones. I'm just good old Jan. You know,
do you think social media has changed everything, maybe?
Social media has come and blasted these women into the stratospheres of living rooms and the bedrooms of young women and men all across the United States. And, you know, television has a far more outreach than film and just the papers of fashion magazines. Television is, once you make it on TV, you have made it. Maybe not as far as the movies, but you've made it in big time entertainment.
I know, but maybe we see too much of them now, Janice, because they have to reveal all. There's no mystery anymore with this new breed of.
There's nothing going on except watching scene after scene of Kim Kardashian eat. I mean, if she could lap together a sentence in between, like stuffing her gob with plates of salad, you know, it's kind of rude to speak while you eat with food coming out in bits and things.
Janice, have to ask you about the American political situation. Where do you stand on it all? Did you know Donald Trump? Were you ever in the same circles?
Yes. In fact, I stole his limousine once. He had a limo parked out in front of a building, and I just hopped in the car during a snowstorm and took the car. And I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I don't know if the statute of limitations is going to...
Did he catch you?
He didn't. He never caught me. I, in fact, went up to him at a fashion show after 10 years of the statute of limitations, which also stands place with rape and other assaults on people. That I'm so sorry, Trump. I did take your car, and I apologize. What more can I say?
And what did you make of him becoming president?
Oh, you're getting into a whole can of whoop ass right here coming from me. I'm a diehard Democrat, and I live through democratic process, and I just think the whole world went down the toilet when he became president. As far as I'm concerned, all of our beliefs, all of what we stand for as Americans, he just slowly chipped at it, and now he has a huge following of Trumpites that still think he's ready to become president. It's crazy over here, Dan. It's crazy how it's feeling in the political arena over here.
Fascinating stuff. Well, look, Janice, we have so many questions from our viewers, and their questions are always the best, so I need to get to them. Debbie, via the GB News Twitter account, asks, is it true that Julie Andrews refused a selfie with you? Julie Andrews? Yes. Mary Poppins, really?
Yes, she refused a selfie from me after I stood in line and waited my turn and waited my turn and waited my turn. And all of a sudden it got to my turn and she says, no, I'm not going to take a picture with you. And I was like, what?
Why?
Dare Dame Judy Poppins refuse a picture with me?
And why? What was it about you? Was she threatened by you?
I don't know. I must have looked pretty darn good back in those days. I didn't have like wrinkles, so I have all the wrinkles now. I don't know if she would take one with me. I've kind of opened my mouth and spoke out against her, that I thought it was quite rude of her back in the day. Yes, so it's true. Whoever asked that question, it's true. She refused a selfie with me.
Well, I would have been devastated. Charlie, via GB News, asks, what was the worst part of your experience in the celebrity Big Brother house?
Ooh. Aside from the fact that I snore, And it was really rubbing everyone in the house the wrong way. You know, they had to wake me up in the middle of the night several times to get me from snoring. And I was like, you guys, I don't know if I'm snoring the minute my eyes close. You know, I've never gone to a snoring doctor. But I was offending everyone in the house by they're getting smooth sleeps. And I was very offended when they were touching me, waking me up in the middle of the night several times to get me from stopping to snore.
And you're just like, hands off, hands off. Ji Hyun on GBViews asks, do you feel disappointed that they have removed the swimsuit and gala dress rounds at Miss World to appease the woke crowd?
Absolutely. Women, if they're in a pageant, you have to be able to show your T&As. You have to be able to show your legs, your derriere, your arms, your parts of skin on your body. That's why I admire that model, Harlow, she has a skin imperfection, and she goes on and shows it. And I think for America's Next Top Model, maybe I'm not saying her name correctly.
Winnie Harlow, yeah.
Jean Harlow has a big skin affliction, and I find her more attractive because she has this infection. As far as not showing body parts, I think it's a big mistake. Go back to showing the bikinis and the bathing suits on Miss World. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, it's great fun. It's great fun. And Brian via GBViews asks, and this is a controversial one, how do you feel about claims that Twiggy was the first supermodel?
Gee, I always admired Twiggy. Perhaps she was, but she never spoke about it. We didn't hear much voice from Twiggy, except from when she did those movies. Oh, come on, she's a big star. I'm not gonna even go against and say anything bad about Twiggy. I admire her dearly, and yes, she probably was the biggest supermodel, but I coined the term. That's
exactly. All. You came up with it, Janice Dickinson, and I love you. You are the original and the best. Janice Dickinson, thank you so much for being here on tonight's big question. Great to speak to you.
Good night, London.
Night.
Bye.
Coming. Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.